Hello there, people of the internet. My name is Udwul Jagero, and this is Dialogues with Jagero. Today we are going to be talking about religion, spiritualism, and church. I have altar boys, people that have been altar boys before. Onyango, you have not been an altar boy?
Same.
Your father was. See? And then we have people who have served in church, and I am one of them, served very diligently in church.
Same.
And I have Shaka, who has also diligently served in church, but has moved away. Onyango used to be a very good boy.
Have I changed?
Used to. Past tense.
So now, when
In church terms, yes.
yes, and then now he's a
He's
lifeist.
free. Now he's free. That's what you should say.
I think that's an appropriate way to put it. Yeah.
Now he's free.
That's very concerning, because then Muyu, what does that mean? That
You were in
people-
bondage.
I was in bondage.
It is a form of bondage.
Muyu, do you agree?
What? What is a form of bondage?
Si unawasikiza, unawasikizi?
No, we need to properly define what we are saying is bondage.
BDSM.
No.
You like that shit?
Anasema, this guy,
Did you really?
This is where pastors have tuned off now. They've just
those
dropped.
boys.
They've gone.
Jagero, you need to properly.
Can we issue a trigger warning?
You know, somebody told me that there are people that I should not bring on my podcast.
Like who?
There is a way we know your podcast, and this is not what we want to listen to. I'm like, damn. Aenda kujua nyumbani. And I was like, that is really, really tough. Because I don't think I have ever gone anywhere and said that this is what I want on my podcast. But suddenly somebody has realized that this is the kind of podcast
Your
content that I need to push out, and it
Oi.
has veered off. And I am humbly requesting you that you know.
Those years I started writing more about sex.
Yeah.
Watu wa kanisa walikuwa wananigonga bana. Kwa DM. This is not how we know you. You should know you have changed.
Kwani, what were you writing?
God is
What is he writing?
Have
That's
you
the
ever?
question.
Oh, you've never read one of his poems.
What were you writing? That
Yeah,
is so. It's not.
vulgar.
I just don't care.
Huh?
Me, I speak on my mind.
And as you should.
And I love sex, and I write about sex.
In a
Quite
very interesting way.
Open.
nakedly. Open is too safe. Or nakedly.
Go crazy.
Yeah, so
Go
Yeah.
crazy, yeah. So
like people tell me, like they read my stuff as foreplay before they have sex with their partner.
oh my God, that's not a good thing.
That is eternity. That is eternity. That's like watching porn,
That's
man.
terrible.
Oh.
Why?
Shit.
Why?
That's crazy.
And you use Onyango's content as me.
Not as good.
As part of foreplay. As foreplay.
For you, it's Viagra. Like not.
Oh my God. Did you hear what this? Did you hear what she
Do
said?
you have foreplay with your wife?
Cut this part.
I do, but not with your content.
Yeah.
Why is she saying Viagra?
It can happen.
Old people.
Oh no.
Extra help, you know.
Especially men.
Need extra
The
help.
girl's age.
Oh my God, man. But where is that ugali one? Ugali? So anyway,
Yeah.
people of the internet, today I want to discuss religion. Onyango, can I tell you a story? I used to be very active in church. I'm not very active in church right now. And for me, the thing that there is a Nigerian pastor called Oyedepo that used to say, I think I'm the one who I told you about the thinking room. I didn't tell you about thinking room. So this guy is a very big proponent of, as a man or as a human being, you should think through things. Even the things that are said to you every day by your parents, you should interrogate them and put them to test. And he used to say that a lot of people think that I have a study in my house, but the principle, the primary goal, the primary use of that room is actually for thinking. I go there to think, interrogate life, interrogate myself, talk to myself, find out what I'm really suffering from.
Pale nyuma. The fact that I know the place. So okay.
Pale nyuma kwa nyuma. Yeah. So I realized that there is a very big distinction between what I believe in church and the way I should actually behave or go about my life. And I started starting to separate the church and spirituality and religion and saying that, okay, this is what I believe in. I think church gave me a lot of anxiety, thinking back, and a lot of confusion. Like anxiety in the sense that, like for example, BSF, Bible Study Fellowship.
Yeah.
If you go to Bible Study Fellowship, it has got a lot of people when you are wamejiweza, people who are driving. In those days, I was in Bible study. I wasn't feeling good financially, and there was a lot of pomp and privilege around me, and it really thinking whether was I really. And then when you heard people talking about certain people that had their lives going on very well, they would say that Nani's blessed. and so then you
I see where this is going.
see where that is going. And then you retreat and you ask yourself,
You're not.
and hey, shit,
Right.
really? this is really, and I felt like, you see, even the other day, one of the very prominent pastors said that their church is not for the poor. There are churches that cater for the poor. If you are poor, go to those churches. Well, leave us alone. Okay? And then I used to live in this 10 by 10 shack in Kawangware with my friend. You remember that place that I was telling you that I that was my first time getting audio porn.
Audio what?
Because people are having sex in the other room and you can hear them.
And you can hear
Yeah.
there is a man that was really kicking our wall, and it was Mabati wall.
Boy.
I'm just helping with sound effects.
You are not supposed to be this. Yeah, it was really. In fact, that house, Rick's Rick's know about that house, and it really tortured me. As a matter of fact,
The sound was being amplified.
yeah, and there was somebody who doesn't do, and I was in that. I wanted to fuck, and I wasn't. And you're hearing this lawyer guy was hitting the
lawyer.
night. Yeah.
Why does that lawyer matter?
Huh? The lawyer part. I'm just so annoyed.
Every night.
Every night they were fucking. Every night. It was really raw, serious sex. The woman is
How did you
willing.
know it was raw?
Raw means what?
Moving on swiftly.
And you see. So there is a time that the church said that now we will be putting you together in estates, and people will start visiting your houses. I was like, shit, they're coming over there. And that thing gave me nightmares. And there is a time I was so depressed and I was losing my head. And I started having nightmares of church people on the way coming. I'm like, shit.
Kuja kuona mapema.
You're not.
She's laughing.
Church people.
Yeah. They were coming. There were no cups to drink tea. There was no difference between my bedroom and where we were seated. There was no electricity during the day because they were rationing it.
Oh no.
Yes, the washroom was like two, and it was being shared by I think 50 households. And people would form line with water in their, with jerry cans in their hand, because you got a splash after that, and people were diarrheaing, and you'd wait and wait.
It's
and
enough now. I think we get the point.
You're traumatized.
By what?
This woman is privileged. Later bwana niko na njaa. Anyway, that was the issue, and then I realized when I started thinking about myself that I can't beat myself down. I need to start healing from my scars. But I think that church for me did not. You see the way you see children of the Lord, and then you realize, how can we help these people? They are very poor ones, they are very rich ones. How do we take care of them, all of them together? You see. So anyway, that is my story with the church. Shaka has a story with the church. Shaka, what's your story with the church?
So I think I should prefix by saying, in no way, shape or form, am I trying to convince you to do or not to do anything, okay? So I've been raised literally by the church, not even in the church, by the church. My parents were in ministry for a very long time. My dad used to be heavily in ministry, and then he retired. Earlier in my life, I think I was probably a teen or so when he retired. My mom is still heavily in ministry. She's a pastor. I'm a pastor's kid. So when we went to so many churches when I was young. At some point, I have seen how church in very different aspects and different areas. I think I should also mention, it's very important to understand the history. My parents were first Catholic. They were born and raised Catholic, both of them. When they met each other and fell in love, at some point they decided to be, I think my mom was Protestant before, but now together they decided to be Protestant. Like, that's how they chose to raise their family, not Catholic, Protestant. However, I think I was, to my information, I was dedicated Catholic first. I think that's I don't know if any of you are Catholic. You can't lack a Catholic in any room, by the way. You are. There's that thing.
I'm not a Christian anymore.
There's that thing for dedication where they dedicate babies.
Like
So I think
is that different from baptism?
I think it's
It
different.
is.
It's very different from baptism. The dedication,
Well,
I
they
think.
give you the name.
Yeah, they give you the name. So mine is Shalom. So I was dedicated first Catholic, and then 2 years later we switched to Protestant. So I grew up Protestant. That's what I've grown up knowing. I don't know anything about the Catholic, although I have attended some services here and there out of, it's just life. So I've been to different churches. So we were first in Sitam. That's the church my parents chose to raise us in initially. But then we moved to a different area. And they didn't have Sitam assemblies within that area, like that one year. Majority of my childhood, I grew up in Naivasha. The closest Sitam was in Nakuru town. So it was like an hour drive and back. But so what happened was, at some point, my dad didn't think it was economical to be driving from Naivasha town to go to Nakuru town for a church service. So for a long period of time, we were trying different churches, but they never seemed quite to fit. You could tell, because we were in one church for a couple of months, and then we moved to a different one. So I've experienced different Pentecostal churches, different Protestant churches, until to a point it reached, my dad was like, nah, something's calling me back to Sitam. So now we used to wake up early to go to drive to Nakuru town for church services. I've been to Pastor's Kids.
Going to Nakuru is like 2 hours.
It's like an hour.
From Naivasha.
Yes, from Naivasha to Nakuru. Like, it's like an hour's drive or less. Yeah. So I was saying I was also in going to Pastor's Kids conferences. That's when I realized, Pastor's Kids are really.
That's a thing.
Really.
What is it?
It is a thing. Like, there are conferences for Pastor's Kids and church leaders. So you see, like, how they will have conferences for kids in churches, like these preteen programs and whatnot. There are specific ones for kids who are children of pastors and church leaders. You know, when Kenyans joke around and say pastors' kids are like one of the most notorious worst people,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it is so true. It is very true. I think I met some of the worst people in those conferences. They know themselves. So
Surely.
Why is that though?
why? A number of reasons. Number one, we are the kids where your parents focus on every other person's problems except their own. You know how that's a thing with pastors. Like, you're attending to your congregation very well, but when it comes to your own family, home, things are not in order at home. But
Okay.
in front of the church, you want it to look like things are in order, but you're not really paying attention. So pastors' kids, in short, are just very rebellious people who are deprived of the parenthood and the parenting kind of style where the parent is actually giving you attention. We are the kids who we go to church in the morning, we are the last people to leave. You people have left at like a service probably ends at 2 p.m., we're leaving church at 6 p.m. because mom and dad are in a meeting. You know, we are those kids. We are kids where you never really had your home to yourself sometimes because there were always church meetings or something like that. So those things are there. There's also how they used to force us to act. I'd say force because, you know, there's an image you had to uphold, being people looked up as, you know, part of the clergy. There's an image you had to uphold. It's how you dress, how you talk, who you talk to. Yeah. And those are things that now later I came to find out were like very flawed. There's something you've said that has really made me understand something. There's this thing churches do where they do differentiate people by class. CITAM is one of those churches.
Really?
A church, literally, if you Google CITAM and check their history of CITAM was to cater to the urban community, not anyone else. They created a church for the urban community. CITAM services are only conducted in English from start to finish. The songs are English, the sermons are English, everything is English, you know. And I'm saying this because I'm at a point of privilege. I can compare different Protestant churches. I went to CITAM prior to being in other churches. The conversation is very different about money. When you go to other churches, I noticed this thing. At some point, my dad used to be a treasurer in ministry. He used to handle church finances. So I noticed in some churches, and especially in some communities, not in communities, in some areas, when the pastor is asking for money for something, maybe the church has a project or whatever they want to lie to you about. I'm sorry. I'm offending some Christians here. I'm sorry. But there are things that, like maybe there's a project and then they're asking people to pledge money. I noticed that there were churches they would ask people to pledge, and the most they're asking for is like 1,000, 2,000. If Kenda Sana 20,000, you know. I went to CITAM, and the conversation was different. In fact, it was one of the first services when I went back, when I rejoined in 2018. It was one of the first services. They were raising money to build an assembly. They were literally saying, you know, we know people here who are capable of removing 3 million, 2 million, not thousands. They were starting from millions. And I was like, where am I? You know, and to make it worse, it was CITAM Karen. I was in CITAM Karen, so you can understand. The conversation there was so different about money. When they're talking about money, they're not talking about small, what you'd think is a small amount of money. They're talking in millions. And even judging from even how the congregation contributed, the congregation was also contributing in millions. So you know even the kind of people who are in this church are very different. But the church also intentionally pushes those people, pushes that narrative that they are not a church for everyone, they're a church to cater to the urban community. And it goes even as far as if the kind of car that brings you to that church, you can be asked at the gate, are you dropping off? Are you Uber?
Yeah.
Literally.
Wow.
Those are things that happen in this country. So the church does affect people in so many levels. Because what happens if you are not financially at a place where what is considered ideal to be the ideal congregant in that church? You know, I used to walk to church, so I'm not even being dropped by an Uber. So you can imagine, I used to serve in ministry, but I would see how they, like, that tone of, you know, you feel like you don't belong because you feel like everyone here is on a very different financial level. that you're not there yet. And those questions you start wondering, if someone visits me, what are they going to think? You know, these people live in mansions in Karen, and then they want to visit me in Rongai. How? Where? Why? For me to give you what? I should be visiting you. You have a chef, man. I'm my chef, you know? So in 2018, December, that was after my high school, I intentionally decided to join ministry. But there's a difference between a kid who's grown up in ministry and someone who decides to just join ministry. A kid who's been raised by literally the church, you've been in ministry all your life already. But now I was actively choosing to be actively in a ministry on my own merit. So for 3 years, I was in church ministry, and it made me see a lot of things. You see a lot of the things behind closed doors. You also start noticing this pattern. Also, like I was an adult at that point. So you're picking up on things that you didn't pick up when you were a kid. I'm picking up on seeing the same church who I saw in a club going to the altar, you know? And those are things that really, really confused me, because I was like, you can't be the same person going to the altar condemning people who are drinking. And then I literally saw you in a club. Make it make sense. So I experienced how church is full of hypocrisy, really full of hypocrisy. And my parents not being an exemption, they were. And except now my dad, who's retired. But I don't know if he also acknowledges that there's a lot of hypocrisy in the church. And that's what also something that made him quit. There are a lot of people who quit going to church, especially if you're in ministry. There are a lot of people who join ministry and then they drastically just quit. And then it's so hard to go back to church because you see all these red flags. I go to church and then I'm like, why the hell are you calling a pastor mom or dad? What is that? You know, those are things that don't make sense to me right now. But that is my...
What was your trigger to leave?
In the middle of my parents' divorce, the church made a decision to go with one person's story.
Wow.
And extremely cut out the other person.
And they were both in the same church?
They're both in the same church. Wow. That's the thing. So and then there were, the church has a way, I realized the church has a way of kicking people out without kicking you out in your face. You know, I was like, if you want me to leave, just come and tell me, don't want to see you here, you know? But now they will start mistreating you. You know, ministry is basically you're working for free. But churches don't appreciate that. You will they will act like they're your employers, and you're not even being paid. You're doing this literally out of your heart. You want to connect with God. So my triggering point was that it started like that. They chose to pick one side of the story. The other side is evil automatically. They didn't even bother to make any effort to hearing the other side of the story. You know, that's also something that's with divorce. Like, those two stories won't be the same. You need to hear both of the stories and then maybe make a decision about which you want to which side you prefer. But they completely neglected that. And then, unfortunately, I don't have one of the best mothers in the world. I keep saying I have a narcissistic mother because she is a narcissist. So she fed the church some crazy stories that don't even make sense. Crazy stories about me. So it started interfering with my ministry. And the minute it started interfering with my ministry, I was like, I'm done. You cannot be interfering with the one thing that is literally bringing me to this church. You know, ministry for me is my way of connecting with God. You know that people go to church for different reasons. The people who go to church because they want to hear the sermon. The others who go because praise and worship is what it is for them. Me, mine was ministry is what is it for me. That's what brings me closer.
What were you doing in ministry? Were you preaching? Were you part of praise and worship?
I was doing media. I was in the media ministry. Yeah, so I was that time. What was I doing? I was in charge of screen operations. And I was also doing, I think, the website. I was doing a couple of things in media. Yeah.
Rix, Bwana, you used to be a good boy.
Used to be a church
He's not
boy.
a good boy now.
He used to be a good boy, and then
He was hurt?
Even the other day, he was a man of God. And suddenly I'm just seeing this guy has changed. He's no longer recognizing Jesus. Mambo ingine kwa internet.
Are you atheist?
I'm not. I'm just Ricks, man.
You think somebody can just be Ricks?
That's how
Okay,
we
do
were
you,
born.
do you believe in anything perhaps higher than
There's
humanity?
definitely something out there that is bigger than all of us. Surely,
Yeah,
because, I mean, we are
You
living
just don't know
in
what
a
it is.
mystery of a place. This is a
For real.
mysterious place.
And I wish we were asked if you want to be here or not.
Yeah, because
Or that, yeah, I don't know why this thing of I'm just there. I didn't. No one consulted.
yeah.
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 And what was so?
What is your story with the church, and how did you move away?
And yeah.
So born in a Catholic home, my paternal side of the family, they were Catholics. My dad was an altar boy. My father says he wanted to be a priest, but then his father talked him out of it. So thank God I'm here now, because
Yeah.
You would be.
or he'd be having other kids and people don't know about,
Yeah.
because these niggas. And
You know,
Actually,
I
yeah.
said that on my podcast, and then someone commented, "No, you would have existed just in secret."
in
In
like
secret.
people will not know that you are you.
Yeah.
You see,
How explain that? What does that mean?
like there are priests who have families.
Oh yeah.
Catholic priests who have families.
Actually, it's very. I met this woman, and she was. No, it was not even a woman. It was a man. He's now a businessman, and he was telling me initially he wanted to be a priest because of what he saw. You know, the holy and everything. It's amazing. Until one day when he was around maybe 13, he passed through, I don't know, the back of the church, and he saw a priest having sex with one of the nuns.
Yo.
The what are they called?
Mm.
The
Nuns,
sisters,
yeah.
yeah. And it completely changed what he thought. And from that day, he left the church. And you can imagine this such a small,
Kid, yeah.
yeah. You can, and now he's in business. It shifted my perspective. How much church, how much religion has to say about your identity
Yeah.
in the long term.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, we were going to church every Sunday with my parents, and my dad is the guy who used to. So in Catholic mass, kuna mtu ana make announcements at the end of the mass. So my dad was that guy. He was really churchy those years. In fact, he's part of the group that gengared the Catholic Church in Kitengela as it is right now. Those years, 92, 93 there. So my mom was Anglican, then turned to Catholic after the marriage. So Catholic was all I knew. You know, we'd sing those hymns, which I still love to date because I love music. And there was no space to question much, even though I'm grateful that my parents were not extremists with religion. They were not at you, if this doesn't happen, God will punish you, whatever. I'm so grateful that didn't happen to me. And so as the years passed by, then my mom became more religious and my dad got away from the church, all right? We still went to church. So up to then, I mean, and with me, when I got to high school, then now, you know, I started questioning things from such a young age because of the violence that was going on at home. I started questioning things so early in my life. So I'm going to school, and then we are supposedly praying to one God, but then the SDAs have their own thing, Catholics have their own thing with the YCS.
Presbyterians have their own.
You know, Protestants are the main ones because they are more than everybody else, so they have one service and stuff like that. So Mimi, what I'd do, I'd go everywhere because these were my friends, and I'm a curious kid. I'd go to the SDAs and sit with them. I'd go to, you know, the Catholics and sit with them, and I'd go to the praise and worship here, you know, Protestants, and even sing in church and whatever. I used to be a gospel musician at some point in my life.
What?
Yep. And
What
lived-
happened?
See, I'm telling you things really.
lived long,
You
man.
were competing with Jimmy Gate and
Yo,
stuff.
as in, hey, I was a rapper, serious one. Like, don't joke.
I hope that you're enjoying this program. Over the last 15 years, I have been working online for clients in America, in Europe, and all over the world. And that is why it pains me a lot when I see a lot of African brothers and sisters saying that they do not have a job. Now, this is the problem. A lot of people are trying to look for a job in 2024 in their own town, in their local area. Now, the truth is, there are no jobs in Africa, at least not so many jobs. The good news is that we have internet these days. We have a tablet, we have a computer, we have a phone, and that means that we can do a lot of jobs, and those jobs are online. That is why over the last 4 years I've been writing a book that is called Digital Goldmine. It is a book that explains to you how you can earn money online. The 18 hustles that I've chosen are basically for Africans, because what happens when you are doing online jobs is that payment is usually a problem. So these 18 side hustles that I have put together in this book, you can be paid very well and very conveniently. Okay, so the book is only 1,000 Kenya shillings. That is about $10. You can buy it in Kenya using paybill number. You can buy it online from anywhere in the world using a credit or a debit card. All the information about this book is in the description below. And if you have a brother, you have a wife, you have a husband, you have a friend who is sitting at home and watching Netflix, please do buy this book for them. If you are the one sitting at home and watching Netflix and have nothing to do, please buy this book and your life is gonna change forever. Because I have been doing this online and I've been traveling and I've been enjoying myself and having a lot of fun. So thank you very much, and now back to program.
Oh, you remember Jimmy Gate?
What happened to him?
I don't know.
Watu walipata pesa wakaacha kuomba bwana. So,
Watu walipata pesa wakata kuomba.
wacha kuomba, eh. So anyway, I don't know, I'm just saying. So, got out of high school, finished Form 4, then I went to Uganda. The school I went to Uganda to do my Form 5 and 6, A-level, was an SDA school. I got baptized there, all right, as a Seventh-day Adventist. So, right, I'm a Catholic and also I'm an SDA, you know? And for the thing was, for me, it was more about just beginning a new life, because I was going through a lot as a child, and maybe then 19, 20, and just wanted something fresh and new. And I felt like in the environment I had there in school, you know, because we were going to church nearly every day in that school. I loved the music. I loved SDA music so much. The choirs and everything. I sang in the choir as like tenor. Like, it was beautiful.
Nasikianga kuna usherati sana huko.
Kila usharati kwa kila mahali. Si ati huko peke yake.
You'll be cancelled.
Ni kweli.
Mimi nauliza.
Iko.
Mimi nauliza.
Sasa na confirm. Iko. Sasa kama hao walikuwa wanadinyana kwa church, huko priest na nani. Sasa where would it not be happening? And you see now, what I found out is that SDAs and Catholics are not very good friends, according to the way those sermons were going. Because it was like
I have to go and pee.
End of the game. Tuendelee ama?
Tuendeleni tu bwana. I can't hold. Tuendelee.
So when I got out of high school, like Form 6 now, came back to Kenya, and then I met my other circle of boys who were Presbyterian. And then I started going to that Presbyterian church, right? You know, there now Bible study was really good because it was the first ever safe space that I found. Because us guys all had daddy issues. That's what connected us the most, more than the gospel even. Yeah, because the first thing we do anytime we are meeting is ask each other how you're doing. Hey, my dad did this and that and that. Hey, me hata mzae jo, kuna Kenya alisema, stuff like that. We just check in emotionally.
Yeah.
And that cemented our friendship, even though it was in the name of Bible study, you know. So growing up, like, those guys just gave me a love that I never thought was even possible to have, because it wasn't happening at home. And we developed a friendship that was almost bigger than how we perceived church. Even though all of us were in the church, we were youth leaders and all that stuff. But then late 2016, I fell into depression, maybe for the second time in my life. And that period of my life, I started questioning so many things.
Yeah.
Right? So many, in that dark room, like I had so many questions about life, about my identity, about who I am. I don't necessarily have any particular deep church trauma, religious trauma, I'd say, even though I know in their structuring, they really shaped a lot of how I viewed myself, you know, but I don't have it in the church, mtu akaniambia hivi, akanifanyia hivi nini. For me, it's more just looking at the wider scope of life. What am I really believing in? What is this thing that nobody's explaining to me? You know what I mean? So that period now, I start, and of course we were having issues in church between the pastors
The
and
leaders.
us young people, because I kept asking questions like, why don't we have women
Leaders.
elders in the church? Like, you make it make sense. I don't get it, Miss Yelewi, because why is it just these old wazes that are making the decisions about everything all the time? Youth, amskiki na wanawake pia wako na ka group kao kiplani, but they are not up in front there kwa altar.
And that's actually in Protestant and Catholic.
It's everywhere because it's all patriarchal. That's the
Yeah.
issue. And for me, I was like, I don't understand this, you see? Because again, my dad's side of the family is polygamous. So I had so many aunties, you know? So the other side of that is I've been raised by so many women around me, you know? And also seeing how they were being treated by my uncles and stuff like that. I just used, and then now my dad at home being very abusive. I really had so many questions about. So
This man.
yeah, and then I'm supposed to be this. I don't relate. I don't feel attracted to this nini of masculinity. So that's the time I decide I want to leave this space, you know, and start exploring who am I. And that period now I go to study about church history, and got so mad from the fact that they didn't teach me anything about Christian history and how the church became to be. They didn't teach me anything about how the Bible was really, really formed. Who decided this book is going to be here and that other one is not going to be there?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And these other books, where are
Why?
they?
Yeah.
What are they saying? How can I find them? You know what I mean? This Jesus figure guy, okay, what is really his story? You know? Do you know one of the books that were not included in the Bible? I think Gospel of Thomas, right? There's a Gospel of Thomas out there that has 114 verses. There's a place Jesus killed somebody as a teenager and raised them back to life. Like, of course they wouldn't want to put such a thing in the Bible.
Exactly.
Of course they wouldn't.
Exactly.
And when I read that, for me, it almost very humanized that guy for me. I was like, oh, okay, he got mad.
Yeah.
I'd see, like, you know, you have the powers, let me teach you a lesson, you know? Kufa alafu nikurudishe, don't play with me again.
I wish I could.
You know, that kind of thing. Like, yeah, that humanized Jesus more for me,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But then as I continued advancing in my thought process, I asked myself, how did this thing come here? It didn't come in the name of love. Christianity didn't come to Africa
No,
in
it
the
did
name
not.
of love.
No, it
The
didn't.
name of control.
Yeah, they were preaching all that stuff, nini, but in reality, there is no love. And how do I see it? I can just see how Christians are also. I can just see it.
True.
I also
Don't
had
look far.
components of that. I was judgmental in certain
yeah.
aspects. You are irritable. You want to control how other people are living their lives. You think you're the center of the
You're
world.
you're better than
You're better
everybody,
than everybody else, you know.
Your way is the
You're
right,
the right way.
Yeah.
That's very narcissistic. I mean, there's no other way to look at it. But then also, it's the patriarchal nature of the whole thing, which
Yes.
already I had issues with at home. You know, seeing that even in Catholic, like if they had a father, you know, and he's the one, hey, Bwana, we nani, you know, and hey, he's coming in church now. There's this big ass Bible that he's throwing incense to you people and whatever, performing this act of holiness and what. There are no mothers. Where are they? You know,
It's not there.
And I was like, so we have a pope, and how come there's never been a female pope, for example? I had those kind of questions. And then I didn't understand why there was nobody I could ask these questions to, you know?
Safely.
Even if in any other way.
Come as it will. Come as it may.
Because for me, I would be like, if you really want me to grow, offer space for me to really keep understanding this thing. There was nobody to ask those questions, you know? And so now I start relating how patriarchal the church structure is with how patriarchal my family has been, with how patriarchal the world is, and what patriarchy comes with, all the violence, all the dehumanization, even for me as a boy, or the abandonment, the emotional neglect, all those things, the abuse. And I was like, why, first of all, did they also not teach us where this religion really came from? They just preach you need to get saved. Jesus is the only savior who can save you from all your troubles and all that bullshit. You know what I mean? I was like, this is a shit show. It's a shit show. For me, I'd rather even say my mother is my high priest, because she clothed me, she gave birth to me, she taught me how to be a human being.
Yeah.
She taught me how to be kind. She literally made me to be a person. You know what I mean? But then for some reason, my father is like the head of the house, the priest of the home, and all that stuff. But the guy is a no-show at home. I can't feel him. He's not there, you see. And for me to even tell people God takes the shape of a man as the only truth, that's the most dangerous thing you can ever do to humanity. That's the most dangerous thing for me because it has brought problems that we're like this world right now. Men walk out here thinking they're the center of the world because God takes the shape of a man.
True.
It's in their psyche. You just think you're above just because you exist.
Yeah.
And you're just a human being like everybody else. And and my message usually is, by the way, your life could be way simpler if you just took yourself as another human being. Because now you share responsibility with everybody else. You don't have to take up things you can't manage, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like how my journey has been. And of course, I went through a lot of backlash when I started speaking up against, because I was like this guy is saying, I was I'm passionate. Like where I am there. Like it's not at 50-50. So when I got out, like kabisa. Then I started writing erotica now from there, and now it just went south. And I'm loving it.
Wow.
I don't have any trauma at this guilt we used to have. Sijaenda church siku ngapi.
Man,
You know,
that was one of the things I went through. When I stopped going to church,
yeah.
the first Sunday was very hard for me.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I've gone to church every day for my whole life.
Yeah.
You stopped at what age?
It was, when was my last church service? I think it was in 2021. It's been about 3 years since I went to church. Yeah.
What is your story with the church? What's your story with church?
My story
These
with
guys have
church.
got a lot of questions to ask them, but I'm coming back to ask them those questions.
Yeah.
First of all, the way I want you to speak is that you remember when we talked about religion, she was very passionate about it and said that she thinks that there are so many things that we have done as a society which is not appropriate. And the way people are leading, running churches and running spirituality and running religion.
Yeah.
It's not something that you love. So what is your story with the church?
I don't have a horror story with the church, but something I've come to learn about life is you don't just take everything you're told as truth. You have a mind of your own, and you're capable enough to, the same way those people found their truth, go and find your truth. You need to come to a place where you don't hold, because in our culture, unfortunately, is that what the pastor says is true. What the people in the clergy say is what is right. So everybody else or anything else comes after. But you need to get to a place where you chase the truth and you try and find the truth for yourself. Now, when religion was coming into Africa, what I think religion is, and I'm only going to speak about Christianity, that's because what I'm exposed to, is when it came with the white man, it was them acknowledging that there's a God, but putting it in such a way that they're the representation of God. And that's what they came to give us. So in that way, you'll find that it was as a way of control, like she said. And religion works in a very, funny way, such that it unites the people that are in that religion, but it makes everybody else outside that religion against it. So it's always the Christians against the Jews, or the Muslims against these other ones. And you'll find that it's only in Christianity where we have so many denominations. You're Catholic, you're Presbyterian, you're Anglican, you're Methodist, you're Lutheran, you're all these other denominations. And you'll find there's never a point where people will sit and question if truly there's just one God. Why do we have to have different principles? Why do we have to have different doctrines? And the things that these people are disagreeing on were formulated or were created by the people at the top. And that's what has been sold to us. And because we've always held, as a way of colonialism, we've always held the people from the West a little higher than us. So you'll find what we're being fed is what we're going by. So for me, and the only reason I would say again, I'm only Christian because I was born in a Christian home. If perhaps my parents were Muslims, I would be Muslim. If they were Hindus, I would be Hindus. I tend to believe that's where it stems from. I've not had a horror story with the church, but I've gone to see how things around the church tend to manifest. We were speaking about just previously about, like the LGBTQIA, and all, marginalized or oppressed communities. The church will preach God is love. The church will preach love your neighbor as you love yourself. But what the church, I think, is doing is preaching water and drinking wine. So you'll find they choose the church determines what is the bigger sin than the other. So if I'm a murderer, perhaps I'm the worst, but if you just stole my pen, you're maybe a better person. And the thing about, especially to see with the Catholic Church, it's just very, it's complex. It's like a paradox to me because they really hold Mary, Mother of God, at high regard, but there's no woman leader. There's no our mother here in human form that we can see as a representation of what they're saying. They pray to Mary, Mother of God, but where do we have these leaders? I've never seen a woman in a Catholic church on the pulpit. I have never seen that at all. And you'll find when even they're giving the communion, she's at the just below the pulpit. She does not sit with the council of the priests just because perhaps she's not considered on that level. For me, it's very confusing to think that the person you're considering very important to you is the same person that you're perhaps kicking. Again, I would say to do with divorce. You'll hear the church is frowning at divorce. They don't like to hear those stories, and you'll find maybe that's why they'll pick a side, maybe to play it safe and all of that. And you'll also see many priests, many fathers, many pastors go to the pulpit and brag about how God has been gracious to them and their families, and how God has done this and how God is doing the other for them. And when I'm going to church, I would assume I'm going to church for a message of hope. I'm not coming to church to hear you tell me how the other day God blessed me with 10 acres. And that's where I find that disconnect. And when I try and think about Jesus for myself, how I've discovered it when reading the Bible, it's servant leadership, such that you don't mind. It's, that washing your disciples' feet. But in churches, it's you washing them. You're the one to wash their feet. You're the one to perhaps bow out there, worship the ground that they walk on. I don't think that's what the intention for real, perhaps walk with God is, or the acknowledgement of Christ is. When we were not there, neither of us, back in the day, African traditional society, I would say Africans have always been spiritual. The thing that they brought to us, which was religion, it came to separate us. Because the Kikuis perhaps prayed to this God, the Luos perhaps not this God, but they had their own way of worship, they had their own way of expression. In my thinking, there was no conflict there. But it was not until they brought Christianity and sold Christianity to us where we now started having a war. You'll find many genocides, many mass killings have been as a result of religion. Many. But then again, I know somebody will come and say, but I mean, a place like China, which might be considered non-religious, has also had its own atrocities. But if you look at even what's happening in this world, currently, it's all stemming from religion. Yeah.
Do you go to church?
I do.
Catholic?
No, I'm not Catholic. My parents are Presbyterian. My mom was Catholic up until they got married. And then I've been in the Presbyterian church all my life until... Okay, so my church is very... they're just reserved. They don't jump around. They're just... Yeah, you'll even hear people... It's St. Andrew's Church. So you'll even hear people making a joke and they say it's St. Andrew's. It's very... And I didn't feel like...
Where is St. Andrew's?
Karibu na UN. There used to be a poetry event there. Back in the
Cathedral.
day, Ajora. Yeah, that place.
St. Andrew's. Oh, yeah, that one. I know it.
Corner.
Yeah, you're just taking the way going up and then
Turn
immediately
left.
to the left.
Yes.
We used to have Njora there.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's where I've grown up my entire life until maybe last year, September, where I decided to find my own path and sort of like try and see where I truly belong. Because, like I said, I've only ever known
The
what
Church
has
of Scientology is very close by there.
Which one?
Yes, I do.
Hey. Did you ulinyamela huko?
I don't think so many people Kenyans know about the Scientology.
The question I wanted to ask you, Shaka,
Yeah.
I tended to disagree with you just running away from church, you and Rix. But Rix is a different story altogether.
It's the same. Why is
It's
it different?
not.
Has she has a
It
trauma
is.
from church?
Yes, you don't have any trauma from church.
But
But I'm
knowledge
wondering
in
They're the same
itself.
issues.
You don't need to have a horror story.
No. I was asking if that. So did you suddenly believe that the way this other church was treating you is the way all the other churches will treat you? Perhaps I would think that you'd jump to another church and try the other church.
yeah. Well, I remember like also growing up, we tried different
Churches,
Protestant
yeah.
churches. Again, my parents were first Catholic. That means to the extension, my extended family members are majorly Catholic. So I've experienced the Catholics, the Protestants, and then now over time I've also experienced different religions. Just because you network with different people.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be. I tried. When I quit ministry at Sitam Karen, there was a weaning off period. I'll call it a weaning off period, where I was like, okay, this church is a problem. So I sat back and I was like, let me try a different church. So I attended services for JCC. That was because of a friend. I was talking to a friend and he was like, let me take you to JCC, let's see how it is. It was all for Nairobi West. I liked the service.
JCC or ICC?
Is it ICC or JCC, whichever? There's one in
There
Nairobi
is
I think
West.
that's the
JCC
one
and
I-
then there is
because
ICC.
I
don't
think
know.
it is.
ICC, the one in Nairobi West.
Makadara or Nairobi West?
Nairobi West.
That's ICC because that's where I've
That's
been going
ICC.
recently. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that.
The one that is on the road, on Mombasa Road.
Yes, that one.
That is ICC.
But it's Nairobi West is one of the entrances, but it's the main entrance is the one on Mombasa Road.
Shaka anasema Nairobi West. That's not Mombasa Road.
No, the other
There's
side.
an entrance for Mombasa.
Yeah,
Road.
that's actually the main entrance.
Is it
Even if
really
you use
that
Google
big,
Maps,
really?
no, if you use Google Maps, it will take you to Mombasa Road.
Yeah.
But
Because
you
when
can
you
access it
go
from-
the other side, you get to the gate where there is the teenagers' church.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's the one.
Yes, that's the one.
Actually, yeah.
That's
So
that's
there's
the
that.
one.
That's where you are now. That's where you are now. Are you following your boyfriend there?
Well, your boyfriend is always there.
No.
Tell us the truth, Muyu. You should have
No. I started going there even before I met him. I'm so serious. But you see, the only thing that was that attracted me was the worship night that they normally have on Fridays. But
They have
not
a very good worship team.
Yeah, they do. So I don't think.
It's a proper band, and I hear they pay the band.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I hear they pay the band.
They should.
How wengine bwana?
Mungu atakusaidia.
Lakini si yao.
Really?
Yeah.
Also, I was
That's
saying,
amazing.
so
Yeah.
I tried that, and then I tried FEM. I don't know if you know FEM. FEM,
Just say
FEM,
it
it's
in
in
full.
Karen. No, FEM is another one.
Is it a full name?
That
Fem?
church is beautiful. It's an abbreviation, Faith Evangelistic Ministry. I think.
Oh, okay.
It's a beautiful church in Karen. Beautiful. I'm telling you, like the kind of church you walk in, there's cinema seats.
Wow.
That's a very beautiful church. It costed billions to build.
Cinema seats.
They
It's
call it the rich people's church,
Oh yeah.
just because of the facility, how it looks. But I can, in that church.
but even the guys that go there are rich.
True, it's where Charlene and Rachel Ruto go. So,
But I mean those. Cut that.
Kuna kukat.
Me.
hakuna kukaa tu.
And
We can go on about
you'll
this
be
too.
What
unapatikana kwa ile dam.
Abduct you.
Yeah.
I'll be abducted.
But FEM, I went there only on advice from my dad because at some point he used to serve in ministry in that church years back. But what I was saying is to answer your question is I have tried different churches even without the influence of my parents. And what I noticed is there are consistencies in some Protestant churches. They're not many, but they are visible. Like when you go to a church and you realize that the sermons are basically the same. That's also something I realized. There's a website where pastors get their sermons from. I still knew that.
Really?
Yeah, there's a website where pastors get their sermons from. And you can even
They go and
highlight
pick.
what you want. No,
Actually,
it's like
I saw that. Like on Netflix, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw it on a Netflix series.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A
real website.
a drama series or a documentary?
No, a drama series. I feel like that's the closest depiction of what church is. It's called Greenleaf. Everybody
yeah.
should watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've watched it.
There's a
Everyone
website.
should watch it.
Hey,
Churches
man,
go get
it's
those
bonkers.
I relate so much with that thing.
Especially, and it will tell you, Greenleaf will tell you a lot about how
Even
being in a family where there's a pastor in your family, or you guys are like, consider the pastor's family, or you run a church or
or
something.
how
like
you
that.
love everyone
You'll
else
experience.
and you don't love your own.
What I'll say is, for the people who are battling with, maybe trying to understand what we are coming from, I'll say this. That is on the level of Christianity. Don't just blindly follow something.
Yeah.
Figure it out for your own. If you find out everything you found out and then you still choose, that's fine. That's your choice. But don't take everything, especially in this day and age. Sermons are literally orchestrated financially for the church. If you notice, most sermons are just preaching about tithe. It's not because tithe is the only thing that's
Plant
there
a
about
seed.
Christianity. They just want your money. That's it.
And also we need
Church
to
is a
separate
business.
we need to separate logic from, or honesty perhaps from faith. Because I don't think it's
Logic from
fair.
faith.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, there's no way.
Hey,
Jagero,
there's something they say about faith that's very interesting. Do you know it?
let me
What is faith?
tell
What
you
is
this.
faith?
Seeing without believing. But let me tell you, or like trusting in something, but there's no way I can come to you as you're a pastor. I'm coming to you, maybe I'm having financial issues, and you tell me plant a seed with the money that I don't have to expect more. Where have you ever seen that happen, even outside of faith?
Okay.
You can't give what you don't have.
The church is not an investment bank. Please don't.
Surely. Wasichana tafadhali.
Just
Oh, can you-
follow me
hey,
And I even wanted to give my
very
experience. You know, I went to Neno evangelism for
Whoa.
a service, man. I went for a service to Neno. I can,
Girl.
my God.
Unajua kwa Pastor Nganga.
Are you loud? Are you like, can we go?
It was, let me tell you, it was one of the most interesting days. We planned it with my friends. We went for a service.
Oh, girl.
Service
I
starts
can't.
at 10 a.m., ends at 4 p.m. or even later. We barely
Why?
stay. And at 10,
Why?
the service is not even like, we went at 10. By the time we were leaving, it was like around 12.
Can we also speak about
Someone has
cults?
not even started.
Sorry. Can we actually speak about cults that are being, all in the name of religion? Like there's so many people who are
Organized
actually in
cults.
bondage, serious predicaments.
So true.
Because all in the name of
The guy
of
is telling me
religion.
that we have to finish.
Text me for more.
When I do.
Hawamalizi bwana. Wewe uliambia 5 minutes, 10 minutes ago.
But I actually want to say,
Okay.
as we conclude, if you find, I feel like that's why I'm saying, without quoting those people's names, but I'm going to say the pastor awards, those people that have a target on the people in society that are a bit, the less fortunate in society, you target those people to pursue your own personal agenda. It's very wrong, and I also believe that perhaps and poverty is really the biggest enemy.
It is true.
Because they're in that state, and whatever small hope they're getting is tying them down. You'll find, Aki, for real, a woman somewhere would rather the children starve because they know that Pastor Ward is coming tomorrow and I need to give tithe because he's going to plant that seed, and then from their showers of blessings. And I feel like those are some cultish behaviors, and all being, masked under the whole thing of religion. I think everybody should pursue a personal journey. You need to come to a place in your life where you pursue for yourself.
It's controversial.
No.
It's a statement. I'm not even.
No.
It's a controversial take. It's important for anyone who's ever gone.
Do you have something to say?
I have too many things.
I know. If you are a follower of Pastor Nganga,
Honestly,
I want
I'm
to
really
say-
getting a dose of generation Z.
No, actually,
Inanimaliza.
Kaa kando.
listen,
isn't anyone,
Neno evangelism.
isn't anybody going to speak about who Rachel Ruto brought to this country?
No, wait first. We deal with the people in this country. Neno evangelism is a money laundering scheme.
Now-
Because there's no way offering is only being collected in cash. They even have an M-Pesa agent inside the church.
Wow.
You must remove offering in cash. Why? Why?
Kama ya polisi barabara.
You have to
Tume kwa
withdraw.
namba yangu.
You have to withdraw.
Polisi.
Toa kwa ile namba.
Polisi anakuwa
Hakuna like, and the
How
funny
does he
thing
go
is,
there and withdraw? How does he not?
See, you withdraw so you can give the
withdraw.
cash.
If you're inside the church, you have to give cash. Now the funny thing is that people who watch online, there's a
Oh,
channel that,
see, they
and then
withdraw.
they're given a pay bill. But now when we went to the church, we were told hakuna M-Pesa cash.
Thank you very much, people of the internet. Until another episode. Bye for now.
Mwah.
Bwana, wacha-